I know that we'll have a limited time here. So first of all, welcome. Thanks for taking the time to come here. And so my name is Ashok Reddy. I manage the DevOps portfolio in CA. And I have joined by my colleague Ali Siddiqui, who is the general manager for the Agile Ops. And we also have two esteemed customers here. I would allow them to introduce themselves.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Carl Kleinert, and I'm with Intelenet. So we're a managed services provider, and so we're a partner and a client of CA's. So we are everything you think of in terms of a managed service provider. So we're headquartered in Ohio, operate globally. We run a couple of different clouds, our own, and operate in the public space as well. So happy to be here this morning.
Hi, my name is Animesh Mukherjee. I work for FIS. We're a global payments, banking, and trading software and services company, headquartered in Jacksonville. We can operate globally, and we use a lot of tools. As you can imagine, we have a very large IT infrastructure portfolio, and we use a lot of these tools too.
Okay, thank you for being here, and I also want to introduce my colleague Sudeep here. Manages product management for Agile Ops, and he's going to be doing a demo later on. So for today, what we'll focus on this is really the focus is really for insights for better customer experiences. So this is really bringing the two aspects of what Ayman talked about. In the modern software factory, there is insights and automation. So how do we bring those two together to deliver better customer experiences? So what we'll do is I'll go through some of the things what we're seeing with customers in the market, and then we'll do a demo in terms of the capabilities what we're announcing, and then we'll go through the panel after that. So let me start with, I think we talk about everything is about digital transformation, but now I think what we are finding is it's not just software which is eating the world. So every company is trying to leverage software, but now more and more they're leveraging data, and it's really the AI which is eating software. So every company is trying to innovate because the differentiation comes because they can leverage the data they have about the customers and everything else, and then how do I understand the patterns, and how do I apply knowledge, and how do I automate? So that's really where the new differentiation comes for customers. And in that context, I think what we find is if I just for a second look at the evolution of software, and people have been, we talk about mainframes and monolithic applications for many years ago. And from there, now the next generation was really around client server web applications. And it also, there is a notion of how we develop software, waterfall to now agile, where things got delivered in 1 to 3 months. And the next part of it is, we go forward, it's really now the latest is mobile, and from mobile to cloud, and people are using things like microservices, but increasingly they're using DevOps and Agile type approaches to deliver value, and how do they get feedback and improve the experience. The last phase of this is really where we see the industry going, which is applying more and more. It's not just the application which we develop and deploy, but it's becoming AI based. So AI based application, analytics driven, means that it's going to start learning from the data and start making decisions. And in that context, how do you actually develop, test, and deploy applications? How do you govern the application when you don't know what the application is going to do? And that's the experience we are trying to manage for customers, right? So that's the new modern software factory. So in that context, really the modern software factory is not just about supporting the type of applications we have seen, but in addition to that, you'll have to also look at the new analytics-driven applications, which I call it like the self-driving application. At the end of the day, it's all the things that we're doing is about self-driving. And so we'll focus today on two aspects here, which is insights, gaining insights from the data, but then applying automation. So that's how you bring more of that self-healing and self-driving capabilities to the modern software factory. So in this case, I like to use analogies, and so what we thought was the most popular example today is AI is about self-driving cars. So the software in terms of the autopilot in, like, for example, Tesla, before you get to self-driving car, there is different stages of automation. So the engineering automobile industry has got a different maturity model in terms of how they do automation. So let me use this, like there is a level 0 where there's no automation. So I would say we have been doing that even in IT, which is using descriptive analytics. So there may not be automation, but there's manual steering. Second part is level one is, it's just like in a car, you can do driver assistance. So there is some automation, but it's really providing like a blind spot warning in a car. And in that case, you can think about, from IT perspective, something like anomaly detection and a noise reduction where you have lots of alarms and helping somebody to say, which one should I pay attention? Just like in a car, you can do that with an application. The next part is when you then start going to level two where there's partial automation, which is just like in a self-driving, in a car, you can do automated parking, you got dynamic cruise control. So similarly, what we have done is to look at how can you apply automated root cause analysis. So you know that there is a problem, and before even you don't want to find out and fix the problem later on, but how do we address it even before it happens? So that's the first level of automation, where humans monitor the environment. You still are, humans are managing a car, say similarly an application, the environment is managed by humans. The next phase is going to level three is conditional automation. So you're starting to see autonomous parking and highway assist in cars. So similarly, we are starting to look at how do we predict things in a hybrid cloud environment and then provisioning things automatically for you based on what you're seeing. And the other one is, next one is highly automated driving, high automation, and you have almost like self-healing operations. So you learn from things and you can heal before something happens. The last one is nirvana, is really where you truly become autonomous driving. And I know it's kind of a vision, but at the same time, you don't see cars right now on their own, right? You still have a driver sitting in there and they're trying to experiment. So we think it's more about self-deterministic applications. I think that's where it's going, right? The industry is not about applications where we programmed it, developed it, tested and deployed. But now the application itself is going to start changing once it's deployed. So how do you manage that, right? That's where you need more of a modern software factory, which allows you to monitor not only the operations and applications, which are self-healing and self-deterministic applications. So with that, one of the key things from what we talked about this morning, even Ayman talked about, was this analytics-driven applications, which is powered by CA Jarvis technology. So it's really our technology which brings not only the analytics technology. I mean, everybody can apply machine learning and algorithms. It's really the domain knowledge what we can bring from IT and DevOps and others, and combine that with applying the context, because everybody can bring data and apply, but if you don't have the domain knowledge. So we feel like, not only we've got people, we have got here with the experience where not only we apply and learn from things like payment security business, we bring the information and knowledge we learn in training, the same thing for operational intelligence offerings also. So Jarvis is our engine for that, and with what we are announcing here, I think Ayman talked about, is a CA operational intelligence, which is one of the aspects we had announced last year was mainframe operational intelligence, but now with CA operational intelligence, which is bringing the digital side of the business, everything from Internet of Things to mobile to multi-cloud environments. How do I bring intelligence on it, insights? The digital operational intelligence is what it brings. It's powered by the CA Jarvis analytics engine, and its automation is provided by CA Atomic One Automation. So that's how it becomes more of a self-driving modern software factory, because you're bringing truly the analytics and insights, predictive, and all the different levels of automation, and then we can apply CA One Atomic One to automate that. And so with that, what we'll do is we will have some time at the end for Q&A. And so I want to have Sudeep show a couple of these level 3 and level 4. How do we bring insights and automate things? And then we can go to the panel in terms of what they are seeing in their companies.
Thank you, Ashok. So this is a demo of CA Operational Intelligence. What CA Operational Intelligence does, it does a few things. First of all, it reduces the mean time to resolution by facilitating the root cause analysis. It can reduce the alarms that are generated today. It can predict events before they happen, and it can also remediate those before they actually happen. Now, here I'm posing as the IT administrator of an online retail company, and a lot of times what we hear from our customers is IT is caught unawares by a marketing campaign that was launched, and that's the scenario. Marketing has launched a campaign, and I'm completely caught unawares about it. So here am I received an email saying that there had been two issues. One affecting my CRM system, which means my marketing, sales, and support channels are affected. The other is payments, which means that I'm losing money by the second, right? So these are very important as far as business is concerned. Now, the very nature of these two issues are different. First of all, the first one is a prediction, meaning the system anticipated the event before it happened, and here we see it was actually executed and resolved by CA operational intelligence. The second one is an alarm, which needs investigation. So this needs my attention. So let me deep dive into what's going on with alarms. This takes me to the service analytics screen. So this is where I see all my interesting services. I can see all the services, the KPIs like availability, like risk, etc. But the service that warrants my attention is the payment service, because as we see here, the availability is down here. So let me follow the red, which means follow the problem, click on payments. Here we see a surge in the number of users of payments. Of course, the campaign was launched, it led to a surge in number of users. But what's interesting here is we see a whole bunch of alarms. Now, what's happening in our customer base today, they are swamped, they are flooded in a deluge of alarms. And these alarms come from multiple sources. First of all, there are a lot of alarms generated from repeating problems. As the problems repeat, it's the same alarm that's generated over and over again. That's number one. Number two is the root cause and the symptoms both surface as alarms. Let me give you an example. For example, if the database is down because the storage is down, today the database and the storage both generate alarms because they are monitored by different tools. There are a plethora of tools, siloed tools that are in the customer base today. So what we have done, first of all, we have tried to deduplicate the alarms using a smart clustering technology, number one. Number two, we are using our knowledge of topology to disambiguate the root cause alarm from the raw alarms. So here you see there was 65% noise reduction because 23 raw alarms got condensed into 8 service alarms. So let me go to the service alarms and see what's going on. Here, these are the service alarms. Now, typically when it happens, when an issue like this happens, today in our customer place, people huddle, the different personas huddle in what we call a war room. They talk to each other, they debate with each other, sometimes it leads to finger pointing, and they try to find the root cause. Here we automatically figured out the root cause, though the raw alarms come from multiple sources. You can see the infrastructure management tool, CA's mainframe operational intelligence, the NetOps management tools, and so on and so forth, and we combine the data to find the root cause. Here the root cause is an anomaly, which is an anomalous usage of SWAP. And here again, the customer doesn't have to employ any data scientists because the system self-learns. Because as you see that the deviation from normal was automatically detected, we can look at the details. And furthermore, as Ashok mentioned, we can actually take corrective action from here and remediate the problem. It could be CA's Automate tool or any other third-party automation tool that we can launch in context to remediate the problem. So that's the first part of the demo where we actually perform root cause analysis to remediate a problem. Let me go back to my email and look at the other problem which was automatically resolved. Though it was automatically resolved, let me see what was going on. So let's click on prediction. It takes me to the prediction screen. Here I can see all the events that are about to happen or anticipated to happen, right? So of all the events, the one that needs immediate attention is the one that's going to happen the earliest in 4 hours. So this is the memory utilization, right? Greater than 90%. So let me hover over it. It shows me a few interesting pieces of information, right? Apart from what it is, it also shows me that it occurred multiple times in the past. And this is because we are using a big data platform to store the historical data as well. Now, there are different types of predictions, could be performance predictions, capacity predictions, outage predictions, and so on and so forth. I can use the filter to filter on one type of prediction. I can look at the execution status because this was already resolved. I can see that this was resolved because it was a memory problem on an EC2 instance. The resolution was an Automic workflow that bumped up the instance size. I can actually click on any of these links to go to Automic in context to review the steps that were executed on my behalf. But I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do instead is look at the topology, right? It gives me the overall view of the topology that this particular device, EC2 Store, was anticipated to have a problem, and it is in the context of the overall CRM application. I can also look at the affected metric, that this is the memory buildup that was happening, and it would have reached a saturation had it not been for the action that was taken at this point. So this is where we bring the world of insight and automation together. We predict the events ahead of time, and we can remediate them ahead of time. Just to summarize, CA operational intelligence leads to reduction in alarm noise, facilitates root cause analysis, and it can also predict events and integrate with Automate to remediate them before they even happen.
So it's the level 3 and level 4 automation combined with the insight. So thank you, Sudeep. So we'll want to now move on to, I want to have Ali, moderate the panel with our customers to see what they're seeing in this context.
Thank you, Ashok, and thank you, Sudeep. Great walkthrough. I'm so excited to now move on to the customer panel discussion with Carl of Intellent and Animesh from FIS. So welcome both of you. Thanks for joining us. And today we wanted to start with just an intro on your AIOps journey and what brings you here today. So maybe I'll start with you, Carl.
Okay, sure. So as I said, we're a managed services company, and we're always looking at new ways to provide levels of efficiency in the solutions that we bring to the market. So CA has been a key partner for us in delivering the tools that help us do that. And so for us, when you look at it, it's really about democratizing the process. So for us, we have to figure out ways that we can more fully utilize our staff, and it's real dangerous for us to have everything kind of in one place or the other, right? So if we can kind of level set the way that we deliver solutions in the market, and like I said, kind of democratize that process, it makes us much more efficient. We're able to be proactive to our clients, and then, again, just kind of deliver our service in a more robust way. So we see what CA is bringing to market as a key component of how we deliver our solutions to our clients.
Thank you. Animesh?
For us, it's very important that we have to be able to manage a heterogeneous technology stack. We have circuits, we have data centers, we have connections into our customers. We have a lot of other partners, especially in the payments business. There are a lot of partnerships that are there, and we have a lot of metrics that are coming from all these areas, going into multiple tools, but we need to be able to pull it into one place. I mean, when you look at Sudeep's example, there's a lot of pieces of the infrastructure. It's all heterogeneous. It's all in different tools. So we need a place where we can pull all that, give it to one tool that can then accumulate, aggregate, separate out what's real, what's the signal, and what's the noise, and then tell us exactly what action to take. And this is exactly what we're looking at for these tools.
That's great. And just to build on what you said about heterogeneity and infrastructure, as we look at machine learning and data science, one of the questions that comes up is how do you manage in a heterogeneous infrastructure where you have a plethora of tools, and now with shifting workloads to cloud, that adds complexity. So how do you work with your customers to manage this challenge?
So it's definitely a challenge. Right now what we're doing is we have a lot of initiatives of automation, right, on bringing our tools that we have already, like Spectrum, into a better position to be able to grab all the information that is needed. And then the next step is, of course, to move to a tool like this, which then takes the enhanced amount of data that we are now collecting. Because now once you collect a lot more data, then it's more difficult for the operators and the people on the floor to deal with it. So then you need some assistance to help them out. Like our version of Alexa.
I like that. That's cool. Carl, you want to add?
Yeah, so it would be, I think, easy if customers were making a singular decision to move to a cloud. But that's not what's happening, in reality. We're talking about clouds in the plural sense. In many cases, the customers aren't making the decision themselves. They're being pulled there by their SaaS providers or for some other, business purpose. So we're being challenged to kind of homogenize that experience for them, right? So how do you continue to operate in some areas in a traditional on-prem scenario, and then how do you still maintain some control and visibility into that environment and be able to kind of provide service levels that are consistent to their user community when you get into these multiple cloud scenarios. So kind of homogenizing that is a real big challenge, for us. And so part of what intrigues us with what CA is bringing to the market is our ability to start to use these things as aggregators and then put them all together in one place and really kind of deliver on that experience for our clients.
Great insight, and I like the democratization as well as the standardization and the homogeneous concepts that you bringing here. One more question around, when you look at this AI ops journey that you guys are thinking about both today and as you look in the future, how do you perceive this helping your business? Because in the end, it's really about making your business, better and more efficient and grow. So I'll start with you, Carl, if that's okay.
Yeah, Ali, thanks. So I think for us, one of the biggest challenges, especially when you have a people-heavy business, is consistency. So if you go to a restaurant and there's a different chef making the recipe and it tastes different, your experience is different. And so for us, we have a broad staff, right? We have some junior people that run our network operations center. We have level 3 engineers across platform and systems and networking. But how do we provide a unified and consistent experience every time the customer touches a service that we offer? And so when we can add analytics and automation as part of our process to the core service that we deliver, which is really people, right? That gives us a real opportunity to provide a great customer experience. There's nothing worse than that phone call that says, why was this issue passed over to 5 different people before it was resolved? Why did it take 8 hours instead of 1? Or why did it even bubble up to an issue at all, right? So talked a little bit about how do you transition to predictive and automate the fix rather than even why do I even have to have my team engaged, right? So as we can move towards a little bit closer to the utopia of that, it has real business value for us as a company and then downstream to our clients.
Thank you, Carl. Great insights, and same for you, Animesh, maybe.
Yeah, in our business, as you can imagine, payments, right? You can't stop. I think you must have all heard about last week, Visa Europe issue. We were down for several hours. And, there were people in shops putting cards, signs, no card payments today, right? That's not good at all. And so I think one of the biggest advantages of collecting this data is predictively avoiding impact, right? Getting to a place where you understand, like his example, memory. You're hitting a limit on memory, you're hitting a limit on disk or CPU, right? A circuit is running slow or it has packet loss, right? And being able to very quickly take some action, automated action, right? If you need to take human action, you cannot take human action less than 30 minutes, 40 minutes, right? That's a lot of money gone, right? So it has to be something that very quickly understands what's happening and takes corrective action. And then humans can come and review, okay, what happened? How could we improve, right? Obviously, there are certain cases where the automated action is not going to work, and that was the second case we talked about. But at least if those are reduced, and over time, it's a journey. So if you over time, as your solution becomes better, it'll pick up more of those. But this is absolutely essential. There's one more aspect I want to bring in, that traditionally in operations, we've always been looking at the infrastructure, network systems. It's increasingly important to look at security as well. Now, security has always been off to the side. There's a SIEM or there's an InfoSec team. But if you don't merge the two and put it in the same tool, you don't know whether the performance issue that you're hitting right now in the infrastructure is due to a performance issue or is it a DDoS attack? And how do you connect the two? And that's again a tool like this will help us.
That's great. Definitely, I look forward to the continued conversations, and I really like the way you said it's a journey, but it's essential. This whole agile ops is essential and a journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ali. Thanks again, Ramesh. So, any questions for me or the panel here based on what you've heard so far?
Your innovation is based on your internal people, or is it on a feedback from customers?
It's both. I mean, I think we actually developed the technology organically. Obviously, we use some open source things, other things, but in terms of how we train and other things, it's based on working with customers and the data what we use with customers. But it's mostly the technology itself is built organically.
Has anything new been added to the topology mapping capabilities based on machine learning or data science versus what you might depend on with CMDB?
First of all, we are using real-time discovery technologies to get the topology, and the topology it's an IP that we developed in-house because we are the market leaders in infrastructure management, NetOps management, APM, and what we do is we combine the information from these different sources to construct the topology. That doesn't preclude the fact that we can also import the topology from CMDBs, right? So there are tools which only depend on CMDBs. In our case, we can discover real time, because in today's world, especially in cloud, most of these assets are very temporal and dynamic, right? They change all the time, so it needs real time discovery. That's why we rely on our monitoring technologies and are combining those technologies to construct the topology. But at the same time, if someone wants to import the topology from a CMDB or embellish the attributes, for example, you automatically discover the topology but want to import the cost center or the ownership from a CMDB, we allow for that as well.
You had a question?
Yeah, this is for CA and for your customers. So the understanding is that organizations are facing far more security alerts and alarms than they can deal with, and the numbers are staggering. If you've got a large number of alerts coming in, typically 90+% are being ignored, just not being able to handle. And so obviously automation is a way of addressing that. Question to you is from a customer experience, from a real world experience, just how significant is the disconnect between the number of alerts you get and the number you address and the impact on customers out there? So is the fact that so many alerts are not being addressed really because it's noise and repetitious, they're not serious, significant, whatever? Is it impacting customer experience and something that you need, therefore something like an OI to embrace more, or it's just one more issue and it will be dealt with in the fullness of time with a variety of tools and processes?
So I'll let our systems answer because that comes from your experience.
Yeah, I think there is a certain, there can be a certain numbness, right, that builds up over time, especially if you have a lot of, if you have a bad signal to noise ratio there. And so you can get caught one way or the other. If you're too premature, right, in your escalation because of the lack of visibility into what the real root causes are, that's a problem on one end of the spectrum from a customer experience. And then the other side of it is if you get kind of lulled to sleep and you're not reacting appropriately to the right priority, then you have a different problem, which is we had this issue, you didn't make me aware of it, you didn't remediate appropriately, and we had a business impact. So those two ends of the spectrum are real, and I think the volume of noise contributes to sensitivity on either end of that. And so those are real problems for us, and something that we struggle to deal with if everything is manual, and if you're fundamentally counting on people's judgment as the primary linchpin to delivering, that service. So that's why, when we talk about machine learning and AI, that's where it has a real, aggregate benefit. And part of what we've seen is also on the governance side, right? So typically when you'd be implementing something new, put a lot of time and work into the governance, the prioritization, and then you set it and forget it, right? Like the old Ron Popeil commercials. And so, but the environment doesn't stay the same, right? So you never go back and redo or realign the governance around the new realities. And so by, again, the way that DOI is architected, right, the governance becomes part of the process and it becomes kind of fluid and a living thing. So you're not having to manually, set that. It just becomes so
Yeah,
again.
thresholds and others change, dynamically change.
Yeah, so we are really intrigued with that part of the solution as well, just in terms of our ability to really transition and improve over time. Because I know we don't do a good job of going back, and we know our customers sure as heck don't.
I think one of the things you talked about is also, it's the false positives, right? The machine learning, I think what happens is like people get get excited that, there's some automation, machine learning, but you have to get to 95% or above, you have to get better. Like it's like Siri in the beginning. Everybody initially got, oh, Siri, do this, and then later on, if it doesn't do what you're asking, you stop using it. Whereas with Alexa, most of the time you're getting it right. So what happens is that training and making sure that we don't have as many false positives and making sure that automation, so that's why I talk about AI being automating automation. So that's the part where we bring the domain expertise and make sure that it's not noise and which one is noise versus signal. I think that's where I think we work with customers to continue to refine and improve the algorithms and to train the data based on the data. Any other questions?
Probably just an observation. I mean, I grew up reading a lot of sci-fi, and sometimes I'm amazed that it's only just being done now, some of this automation stuff. I would have imagined it would have been in place a long time ago, but it just goes to show that for all our advancements, we're still in the black and white era of technology.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's why when we look at it's also there's a software archaeology, right? Even though we are talking about all this stuff, but you still have to deal with code written in the 60s, right? So we are dealing with everything, and then you have to learn from all that stuff. So it is to some extent when we talk about speed and agility, it's really in the context of what customers have in enterprise. It's different than if I'm just starting a new startup. So that's where we focus on how do I transform, but also bring along your existing systems, which are written many years ago, and software is, it's got its own archaeology.
But I'll comment that, so when I was in school, right, and I was working in image processing, at that time everyone was saying that speech recognition is going to be ready in 10 years, really be done. It didn't happen in 10 years, but it does work well. So, if you look at it, it took 30 years, but it got there, right? And so will all the others.
I think the amount of technology, combination of the processing speed, and it's not like new technology, it's just that it's getting all combination of various things, so it seems to be speeding up things. So, any other questions? All right, thanks again for your time, and I know you got other showcases here, and we'll be around later today if you have any questions specifically about one-on-ones.